Hey, what is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I've been doing an incredible amount of digging lately, just trying to find anything on the new announced Witcher Saga, everything that CDPR has been doing lately, because honestly, even though it's been kind of drip fed to us, it's been some pretty big announcements. Like ever since they announced the Witcher Saga with that one little screenshot snippet of a Witcher medallion, people have literally lost their minds. They're really hyped for it because The Witcher 3 set a whole new level when it comes to open world RPG games. And a lot of it has to do with, people love the storytelling and the immersion that Witcher 3 did back in 2015 when the game released. And to this day, the game still holds true for honestly how incredibly beautiful it looks and the amount of detail that that game has, and how side quests are more than just side quest, fetch quests, right? So in midst of all my digging and trying to do more research on the upcoming Witcher single player games, I did come across something that involves multiplayer. Now, I know a lot of people have been skeptical. Oh, are they going to do multiplayer? And I know they did have an article that came out in the past, which I'm going to go over now, and that was with Adam Kaczynski. He was on call with the CEO. Well, Adam Kaczynski is a co-CEO, right? And then you had the president of CD Projekt Red, and they were talking, but they both explained that CDPR is going to be introducing multiplayer to both The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 franchises. He says, we're not revealing which franchise will be the first to receive such functionality, but the first attempt will be something we can learn from, and then we can add more and more. So step in step, we want to open our single player experiences to multiplayer, but we want to add such features gradually. Now, this is something I've covered in a past video. So a lot of people are like, okay, they are talking about multiplayer, but you're not 100% sure. Like I was like, are they going to do it soon? Like when are we going to start seeing stuff like this implemented? And out of all the digging I was doing, I went to CDPR's website, and actually you can see all the job postings here now. They are like full blown. They're CD Projekt Red in Vancouver. They now acquired Molasses Flood, which is an indie developer that they are now like collaborated with. They're still kind of independent, but they're doing a lot of work for CDPR. Does that have to do with multiplayer? They do have experience with survival style video games. They created the game Flame in the Flood and a few others like Drake Hollow. Now, a lot of those games are kind of like more on the small side, I should say. Like I'm thinking that multiplayer Witcher is going to be a vast scope, but honestly, I feel like they may be helping CDPR's Vancouver team with maybe a multiplayer version. Why? Is because if we actually were to scroll down and look at CDPR's Vancouver studio, right here, it honestly tells us that they're looking for multiplayer programmers for the Witcher series in Cyberpunk 2077 in Vancouver, right? They need engine programmers, camera programmers, AI programmers, environmentals. I mean, there's so many different job postings right there in Vancouver, and that job posting, I have not seen that. It seems a little bit more recent because the last time I went and looked at their job postings, I think it was back in last December or this past January, I didn't even see them up there. So there's no dates to say how recent they are, but I know for a fact it's got to be within the last couple months. And honestly, notice how it says The Witcher series, right? Could that mean the past games? They just announced The Witcher Saga. Maybe they're just talking about the Witcher games in general. But we know Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to get a standalone multiplayer version, right? So with this job posting stating with Witcher series, we just need to see which one comes first. Either it's the Witcher multiplayer or Cyberpunk. Now, Cyberpunk, they really need to, hunker down and get the single player in that game fixed, which they have done actually a pretty good job with doing the updates. Like 1.5 in Cyberpunk actually has kind of flipped the game around pretty decently. There's still a lot of things that need to be reworked. It wasn't typically the RPG that everyone was expecting coming from people that created the Witcher series, right? The Witcher 3 especially. So one of the main things is this: multiplayer is most definitely coming to the Witcher games. When are we going to see it? That's what I wanted to speculate, because in one of the articles I was reading, it was pretty much, I would take it as a rumor, as a grain of salt, but I feel like a multiplayer version of The Witcher may actually happen before we get a new single player version of The Witcher. Does that mean it's going to happen? Like I say, you take it with a grain of salt. But when I saw that Witcher medallion and it was a Lynx head, and we've never heard anything about the Linux school, right? So could that be a reference to maybe multiplayer? They just created a whole new school. It's going to be The Witcher, but it's something different than maybe other Witcher schools. Maybe we're going to a whole different area on the continent. I don't know, but it's really made my mind wander and just think about different outcomes and what it could possibly be. But just so everyone knows, and I know a lot of people might be bummed out, but multiplayer is most definitely coming to the Witcher series. And whether that's coming before or after the single player version, I honestly feel like we might see a multiplayer version before a new single player version of The Witcher. Now, I know that they are collaborating with Epic Games to work on the Unreal Engine 5, so it's going to be really interesting to see what the game will look like on that engine. But if they may use the Red Engine, imagine if they took The Witcher 3, right? And they pretty much turned it into multiplayer aspect. Now, the only thing that scares me about using the Red Engine for multiplayer purposes is what happened in the past where someone, stole their engine, and they sold whatever their coding and that to somebody. So if you use that engine for a multiplayer purpose, what could happen? If people that have that code or anything like that, could they go and alter, change games? Can they mess around with things? Now, when you have a single player version of the game, it's a lot different. You don't have these live servers, I would say, that are constantly playing. I mean, you just pretty much get updates, right? So when you have live servers running and you're running a multiplayer game, I feel like any game henceforth is going to be all on Unreal Engine 5. I feel like another reason they're going to the Unreal Engine 5, even though they say the Unreal Engine 5 is easier to work with, it gives the devs more time to focus on that. I feel like when it comes to multiplayer aspect, they had to go to a different engine because someone took their Red Engine codes. Don't quote me on it, but that's my belief. I feel like that does play a little bit into it. It may not. It could just honestly be because the Unreal Engine 5 honestly looks gorgeous, from their trailers and gameplay. So I have a strong feeling that both Cyberpunk and the new Witcher games and multiplayer versions are going to look amazing. So I just wanted to create this video to share with you guys, because a lot of people out there, I still see comments saying, man, you think they're going to add multiplayer to The Witcher? And I did a previous video stating this before, but now seeing these job postings that yes, they are looking for people to be working on The Witcher multiplayer, The Witcher series multiplayer. Whether or not we're going to see that before a single player, like I said earlier, I honestly have a strong feeling we may just see a multiplayer version. And he says there's features that they want to add to the game gradually. And honestly, it depends. A multiplayer doesn't always have to mean MMO, right? A massively multiplayer online. It could just be, a small base multiplayer. If they add a, like co-op style stuff to like The Witcher or any type of game in general, like a lot of times that's all people want is to play with a few friends. How is The Witcher gonna work if it was an MMO style multiplayer? I don't know. And I haven't seen one article of them talking about it being an MMO. Like GTA 5, they call it like an MMO because, you got a massive amount of people playing online. But GTA 5 doesn't always, to me, feel like a hardcore MMO. Not like something like World of Warcraft or even Destiny. I don't really consider that a huge MMO. It's just something different. It doesn't hit like World of Warcraft or even like, say, New World when that released. That's an MMO, even though that game went down the tubes. Like, it's just, that's all it is. It's strictly all online. There's no single player versions of the game. There's not a lot of content that you can just do pretty much strictly all by yourself. The game requires you to play a lot of multiplayer, because if you're not, there's a lot of content you can't enjoy, which I guess Destiny can kind of fall under that with some of the raids, right? Or I should say most of them. But regardless, with the new Witcher game, we are definitely seeing multiplayer. When are we going to see it? Well, hopefully within the Q2 when they announce the Enhanced Edition, which is right now. They should be announcing that pretty soon, and hopefully they don't push that back any further with their free updates. We should maybe hear a little bit more detail on what we should expect in the future when it comes to Cyberpunk's multiplayer version, but I feel like they haven't really been focusing much on that. They've been pretty tight-lipped. But I feel the Witcher series is gonna see the multiplayer before Cyberpunk, because if you think about it, they need some type of revenue to come in, and with everything going on with Cyberpunk, maybe they stopped, maybe they're working on the multiplayer version and they're only doing, you know, whatever to do these updates on the single player version. But for how much they fixed and how much detail they've done, I know it's taken 2 years, so I feel like if they had an entire team doing it, it probably wouldn't have taken as long. I feel like they have like a smaller team working on those updates for Cyberpunk. Maybe a lot more people are working for a new Witcher multiplayer or Cyberpunk. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but to confirm it, we are most definitely getting a multiplayer version of the Witcher series. So that is all I have for you guys. I hope this video was informative to show you that Adam Kaczynski, this co-CEO himself, has stated this. If you have missed those previous videos, if you guys are interested in finding out why CDPR is using the Unreal Engine 5, you could click up ahead, or the description will be down, or the link will be down in the description, so you guys could check out that video. Also, if you guys are still interested in Cyberpunk, you know, they had it's kind of a big update on like what we could be seeing for the future and expansions. That'll be linked down in the description. You can click up ahead, it'll take you right there, or wait to the end of the video. But you can always follow me on Twitter at HamboneGaming. If you like the video, a thumbs up is always appreciated, and consider subscribing. You guys are what help push the channel, and a lot of you more interactive. You know, Witcher's got a great community, so I appreciate you guys supporting me and this channel. With that being said, that is all I have for you, so I will catch you all on the next one. Later.